So let's start with the Albert Breer, who he continues to say things about Trey Lance that drive me absolutely crazy. The first thing he said was that the 49ers feel like they've given this guy a lot of chances. This guy, third overall pick in the draft from 2021. What was your reaction when you heard that?
Well, it's what Schefter said the week before. So I'm thinking, like, again, I'm not crushing Breer for this. To me, I think he's hearing things. And the fact that he, like, pretty much echoed what Schefter said makes me feel like this is how the organization feels, which, again, is insane. And it's too bad. But I think we sort of assumed this, that a lot of people in the organization feel like Trey's, had opportunities in practice and that he didn't do enough. But it's like, it's so silly. It's really silly that the 49ers think they can evaluate these quarterbacks in practice as if they knew Brock Purdy was going to be Brock Purdy off of practice. Come on.
That's the weird thing. And you're right. I don't criticize Breer. I don't criticize Schefter. They are just telling us what they are hearing. And isn't that part of the issue, Grant, is that they're hearing this from somewhere, supposedly from the organization that doesn't leak, right?
Right. Yeah. And what's funny, they talk about him like this guy. People always talk about Trey Lance like he did something really bad. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't play poorly. He didn't get arrested. He didn't get accused of anything. I mean, he got hurt. And people talk like, yeah, man, this guy really, really is a problem. Like, nah, not really. I mean, I have a theory as to why there's all this like negative stuff from national media about Trey, considering they've never seen him practice and they don't know. I have a theory as to where it's coming from. If you want to go there right now.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, I feel like, let's talk about the leaks. All right, so this is a team that prided itself on not leaking things for years. Isn't that how John Lynch tested this organization? Like, I'll work for you if you guys don't leak. Kyle, too. And that was like a thing for 17, 18, 19, like 3 years, 20, like 4 years. Then they traded up for that number 3 pick. And all of a sudden, everyone and their mother that was like connected nationally said, it's Mac Jones. It's Mac Jones. Yep. Mac Jones, Mac Jones, Mac Jones, Mac Jones. And then it wasn't Mac Jones, but it's like, well, where did that come from? And then ever since they took Trey, there's been all these leaks about how much Trey sucks. You know what I mean? It's like, well, where's that coming from? To me, it almost feels like Kyle made the move to go up to 3, and the front office started leaking things to try to pressure Kyle into taking Mac. And he didn't want to take Mac ultimately, so he took Trey. And once Trey came in the organization, the front office wasn't super thrilled about it, and they've been sort of, I don't want to get sued or anything, but it's my best guess is that these leaks come from a front office that never wanted Trey to begin with, and they're kind of sort of trying to pressure Kyle into like finally moving on. Like, dude, he sucks. He sucks. Can we move on now? Can we trade him? And Kyle's like, not yet. I kind of want to see a little bit more. That's my best guess. I don't know.
He being Trey, has never had the support inside the building that a quarterback taking third overall should have. He's never had it. They took him and they didn't feature him in the state of the franchise immediately after he was picked. You just drafted what everyone is hoping is going to be your franchise quarterback, yet they didn't feature him in that. Who does that? No other team does that.
Right. And that's why I feel like this whole Trey Lance thing was a unilateral Kyle Shanahan decision. I don't think he had the backing of the front office at all, but he gets to make the decisions here. And so where did those Mac Jones leaks come from? Where did the Trey Lance leaks come from? I don't know. You tell me. That's my best guess. And you got Kyle Shanahan, who probably doesn't leak, is probably not working the media and probably being indecisive and like, I don't know what I want to do. But just because Albert Breer says Trey Lance is going to be third on the depth chart and Schefter says it, I mean, that's my decision, and I haven't talked to anyone. So that's why a lot of times the national media is surprised by what Kyle ultimately does, because I don't think they're talking to Kyle. It's Kyle's team. He makes a decision, but there's a lot of people maybe leaning on him.
Matt New York, SF 49er fan, says this has been coming up a lot since Brian Griese came out. We know that Brian Griese obviously has media connections because he was part of the media working on Monday Night Football for ESPN, but I can't say for sure it's Brian Griese.
Before then, though. It started when they traded up for Trey. All of a sudden, everyone, it's definitely Mac Jones. What do you mean it's definitely Mac Jones? Who are you talking to? People were so confident about it. Not like this is an educated guess based on knowing the Shanahans. It's like, guys, I can't say how I know, but I know it. And that was what Schefter was saying, everyone. And then they were wrong. So it's like, well, did you get that from Kyle or did you get from someone else who convinced you. I don't know. I think I know what I think, but
What do you think?
I think the front office. I remember a few years ago, it was like Matt Miller said that there was strife between Kyle and John,
And he got
and they laughed it off.
for it.
He got crushed for it, and they laughed it off. I think there might be, some creative differences between them, and they work together, but they may also work against each other in strange ways. I don't know. I don't know how rich, powerful people work, but you tell me. You're rich and powerful.
Oh yeah, I'm both of those things. That's why I'm in my basement right now.
Me too.
It's okay if there's tension there. Like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it can be a very good thing, but the idea that just because they're winning and having success, that they agree on everything all the time and everything is kumbaya, that's wrong too. Both of those ideas are wrong.
Also, it kind of feels like, and I'm going way off here, tell me if I'm wrong. It feels like Kyle Shanahan was coaching Jimmy Garoppolo reluctantly for years. That was not his guy. It was John's guy. John's idea. Kyle sort of agreed and reluctantly, but did it anyway. Then he got tired of Jimmy and traded for Trey. And it feels like the roles reversed in the organization. Now everyone that was with Jimmy is like, okay, well, let's see what Trey's got. Oh, he's not ready. Oh, he doesn't fit this timeline. You know what I mean? It's like, let's give you a taste. Oh, you weren't really that enthusiastic about our guy. Well, we're not that enthusiastic about your guy. Just kind of like how the fan base bickers over and over endlessly about this. That's kind of the way I see it.
Moo says, I'm convinced the Trey Lance debacle will ultimately spell the end of the Lynch-Shanahan regime. Tired of how nonchalant everyone of Purdy. Give me a break.
Well, if Purdy falls apart this year or whatever, has a bad year, the team has a losing record, then everyone's going to come back to this and be like, wait, we need to talk about this. But as long as they keep going deep in the playoffs, I think most fans and media will let the Niners off the hook. But as soon as they have a bad year, people are going to be like, wait a second. So I don't know. We'll see what they have a really good team right now. See?
It's just, I don't know how the 49ers could possibly feel like they've given Trey Lance a lot of chances. 4 starts, 1 in a monsoon, 1 he got hurt in the first quarter. That's a lot of chances. Why? Because he practiced when you had him buried on the scout team? Like, how can that possibly be their position, Grant?
Also, like, the chances you gave him, week 5 in Arizona with a broken finger, he ran 16 times. Like, were you? There was a report that they were willing to lose with him in 2022 to like develop him as a quarterback. You use him as a running back. So it doesn't look like you were willing to lose with him. It looks like you were trying to win by any means possible, and you watched him in practice miss certain throws, and you're like, all right, well, I can't call these patterns with confidence in the game. So what I'm going to do is call quarterback power. I'm going to call these things, and if he gets hurt, so be it. I'm going to tell the owners, like, this is what I have to do to win. That's the way I saw it. Why are you running him so much? Oh, because you need to win these games. You're in win now mode. Otherwise, you would have been calling games like you called against Houston.
Let's hear Albert Breer, because he talked about that on the Herd with Colin Cowherd.
The ideal thing would be to just throw him out there and live with his mistakes. But that's what the Niners were going to do last year. And that sort of ship has sailed. They know how good they are. They know the window they're in. They know they've got one of the most talented rosters in football. And so at this point, they don't really feel like they can throw a season overboard in the name of Trey Lance's development. And especially if you're talking about, well, we may only need him for 4 or 5 weeks till Brock Purdy gets back. Now you're talking about something different. You're not talking about developing the best quarterback for the playoffs. You're talking about the guy who can keep you best afloat for a month, right? That'd probably be Sam Darnold over Trey Lance at this point, right? Even if Lance has the higher ceiling. So I think a lot of different things are going into this. And it makes it much different than last year when the idea was we're going to sink or swim with him. We're going to ride out his bumps in September and October with the hope that we get a better quarterback than we had by the time we get to January.
That part makes sense. The end makes sense. But when he said at the beginning that they were willing to throw away a season for Trey Lance, like coming off an NFC Championship game performance, that's why they brought back Jimmy Garoppolo. They were not willing to throw away a season with Trey. That's why they ran him. That's why Jimmy was on the team. Are you kidding? So no. Look, I love Albert Breer. We work for the same company, and I'm sure he's hearing these from other. These things from other places. But still, like, I would just have to disagree with that.
That they were never willing to throw away a season for the Trey Lance development. Ever. You don't bring back Jimmy Garoppolo if that's the case, because there's no point. If you're saying we're going to ride or die with Trey, there is no point to having Jimmy Garoppolo back him up. You don't bring a parachute unless you're planning on jumping out of the plane.
No, what they were willing to do was throw away Trey Lance's health. I mean, to me, When you bring back Jimmy Garoppolo and call those runs, what you're kind of saying is, all right, well, we have to use this guy like a running back, and running backs get hurt. So, Jimmy, just chill. I mean, that's kind of what it seemed like. I mean, I don't think they thought he was going to break his leg, but I think they thought, he's probably going to get nicked up playing like this eventually. And, so be it. Was how we got to play him. I mean, that's kind of was their attitude with RG3 too. Like, hey, man, you're a good player, but there's a very specific way we have to call games for you, and that involves you running a lot. So let's see how long you can do it. And it was a year. It was 1 year.
That's a good point by you. The way more accurate statement is they were willing to throw away Trey Lance's development in order to win, rather than they were willing to throw away wins for Trey Lance's development. That is just simply not the case.
Yeah, it's the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah. Moose says this whole thing is Trey Lance's fault. I see. The other part of that,
it's because he got arrested 4 times and just didn't care. And he was like No, he wasn't Jamarcus Russell. And Jamarcus Russell started like 25 games, even though the guy was like sipping purple drink and not doing his homework, allegedly. Sorry, Jamarcus. But come on.
And the other thing is, like, why do they just assume they would automatically lose with Trey? I don't get, wasn't the whole point like, hey, you've got a great team around him. You've got Kyle Shanahan. You've got the defense so that you won't have to lose when you go through the growing pains. All of a sudden now the 49ers are telling national insiders, oh, he would have had to throw the season away completely for Trey Lance. I don't agree with that. Mark Sanchez got to 2 straight AFC championship games in his first 2 years. Ben Roethlisberger got to the AFC championship game as a rookie. So that to me doesn't make any sense. Unless we forget, Grant, they haven't won any championships with what they've been doing anyway. So none of this, that whole narrative that they keep shooting to national insiders is just bullshit.
Yeah. Also, like the idea that they sat him a year, right? They sat him a year so that year 2, he'd be ready. And they wouldn't have to use him like a running back. That was the whole thing. And so they used him like a running back anyway. And I think what they were doing was, instead of showing the world that they really didn't develop Trey Lance, that the plan of sitting him for a year didn't work, just run him and hide the fact that he's going to be missing certain throws that you don't feel he can make consistently. Just run him. And if he gets hurt, be like, it's football. It's not that he wasn't good or we didn't develop him. It's just that he got hurt. Oh, and now Brock Purdy's great. It's not that we don't like Trey Lance anymore. It's that we love Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold, apparently. It's not that we don't like Trey. It's just that he's third string on our depth chart now. But we love him. Please give us a first-round pick for Trey because we love him so much.
The other guys are just so good. Brandon Allen is so good. Sam Darnold is so. That's what they're telling you.
You understand? Sam Darnold is really, really, really. I love how not just the Niners are saying it, but these national reporters look. I mean, come on, it's going to be tough to beat out Sam Darnold.
Right?
Huh? I've seen Sam Darnold play football. What?
This is the narrative they're trying to sell you. We didn't get it wrong with Trey Lance. In fact, we're so good at scouting quarterbacks. We got Brock and Sam and Brandon Allen. That's how good we are. We've got
and the fact that we can make it work with Sam just proves that it's Trey's problem.
Jay Good says, say Trey is bad, they win with him. Kyle looks like a genius. Right. That's the galaxy brain, right? We've been telling you Trey Lance is terrible. Then if he has to play and I win, look how smart I am. I fixed this guy.
All I know is that Kyle Shanahan said on the record after coaching Cleveland that when he was coaching Johnny Manziel, he knew Johnny Manziel didn't have the speed to get to the edge. So he told him, I'm going to have to run you up the middle. And if I do that enough, you're going to get killed. That's what he said out of his own mouth. How do you use Trey Lance?
Well, not all Trey Lance's runs were design runs, though, Grant. But some of those were scrambles that Trey did on his own.
True. But the design runs he called, I mean, he knew he couldn't get to the edge. He doesn't quite have that type of burst. So there were a lot of runs between the one that ultimately he got hurt on. And it's it's not 100% chance you're going to get hurt on those runs, but out of Kyle's own mouth, he said, eventually you're going to get killed. And now Johnny's a lot smaller than Trey, but
a lot smaller than Trey.
Still, I mean, running backs get hurt running. I mean, that's the most dangerous thing you can do on offense. And even Debo, you don't run in between the tackles that much. It's usually around the outside because there's fewer collisions. You're not going to get tackled by 4 people at once. That kind of people who are 300 pounds. So just saying.
Sign me 2-9 watching on my Twitch page at Stats on Fire. The Niners have given Trey enough chances, but Sam Darnold hasn't had enough chances after 56 games. That's a fair point by you. Sign me 2.
But that's how they see it. They're like, well, look, I mean, Trey's been here for 3 years. This team is the best team ever. We have the best coaches. We have the best this and that. Sam hasn't ever been around an organization like us. Watch how Sam takes off while Trey could. They're all putting it on Trey. I don't know what Oh, does Trey not do his homework? Does Trey not care? It seems like Trey cares. It seems like Trey just needs a little bit more coaching than the Niners are able to give. And I think they're thinking with Darnold, like Darnold essentially is a finished product. He just needs like a new setting, essentially.
It's weird to me, though. Like, if you think that you can fix Sam Darnold, who's been bad, way worse than Trey Lance for way longer, yet you don't think you can use that same magic to fix Trey Lance. That's telling to me. Like, that's
right, because Sam, like, you don't have to teach Sam, you don't have to refine Sam's mechanics for throwing. What you have to do with Sam is change his entire outlook on himself and the game and get him to stop turning the ball over and stop being a straight up loser. You know what I mean? Like, he will lose you games. Trey protects the football. I mean, Trey isn't a turnover machine. So, no.
It's weird to me that, like, a lot of 49er fans, and if like, it's almost like, well, we'd rather see Sam Darnold throw a pretty spiral to a defender than Trey Lance throw a wobbler to a receiver. Like, what? It's just a weird.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo fans that felt that way too, so I can see it.
John Farr watching on YouTube. Put Purdy on the pup list to fully recover and play Trey 4 games to see what he's got. Better than seeing nothing at all and giving up on him. That's the weird thing about this, Grant, is that they have like a clear path to do this, right? Because they could have said, we'll either put Brock on the pup or just say that Brock's not ready. We're not comfortable yet. Let Trey play. If he's bad, no one's going to blame you for going back to Brock. That's the easy switch to make, right? It's almost like they're afraid, like, well, what if Trey is good? Then what do we do? Like, it's such a weird thing.
Let's stick with my theory that, like, the front office is really pushing Brock on Kyle, and Kyle's trying to keep his options open like he's always been, trying to keep his options open at quarterback.
No, right?
And he says, all right, Brock, he's a leader. You want Brock, fine, he's a leader. He needs to be here week 1, though. He needs to start week 1. You want Brock to be my starting quarterback this year? All right, fine. I like Brock. But he needs to be here week 1. I'm not going to be playing musical chairs at quarterback this season. So if he's here week 1 and he's good, great. But if not, I might go with Darnold. And if he's good, I'm not going to bench him. Or I might go with Trey. And if he's good, I'm not going to bench him. So maybe that's why there's all this nervousness and anxiety and like, he's good, he's coming back. Because if he doesn't, Kyle could do whatever the hell he wants. You know, Kyle could change things. And if Sam Darnold has a good month, then no one remembers Brock Purdy. That's how it works around here, right? Or Trey.
Young Montana says Trey's a career winner. Sam is a career loser. I don't know if Trey's a career winner. That's the point. Nobody knows anything about Trey, but I know Darnold stinks. And I know it because he's played for 56 games. And he's played
This was an issue at USC. I mean, this happened his last year at USC.
And that's what was so good about the 49ers last year. They did such a good job of protecting the football, better than they ever have under Kyle Shanahan. They had the best turnover differential in the league. That helped them so much. So the idea here that Sam Darnold could be the guy while Brock gets healthy, the worst thing he does, the one thing he does consistently is turn the ball over. That would be a step backwards. And I think that's why me and so many other people are so against the idea of Darnold starting.
Also, like, a big thing with quarterback play is confidence. George Kittle talked about it, right? You can feel it. You have to be confident to play well. I think it's fair to say that Sam Darnold seems like the least confident quarterback, or one of them, in the league. I mean, that guy said he sees ghosts. So the Niners think they can infuse him with confidence. Like, that's not what Kyle Shanahan does to quarterbacks. Trey's in therapy. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the injury, but probably a lot of it has to do with all the negativity and him feeling like, you know, he sucks and he doesn't have anyone in his corner. So Pete Carroll can make Smith feel like a baller. Jim Harbaugh can make Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick feel special. Can Kyle really do that for Sam Darnold? To me, the thing that was working in Purdy's favor is that he just had it. And it was like, who's this 23-year-old think he is? I love this kid. Like, that's not Darnold. Darnold does not have it. So I don't know. We'll see.
It's hard to have it when you've had the career that Sam has had so far. Liam Mooney says it's not weird. It's very normal that professional sports teams start the players they feel give them the best chance to win. Yes, Liam. What's weird is that they think that could be Sam Darnold. That's the weird part about it, is that these people who are supposed to know so much more about quarterbacking than the rest of us have seen this guy. They've watched him play like we have, and they think that's the guy we want over the guy we picked 3rd overall in 2021.
And I love how, like, fans such as Liam are sort of giving the Niners a pat in the back, being like, hey, this is what good organizations do. They start the player, give them the best chance to win. Do good organizations throw away 3 first-round picks on a player they never let see the field? I don't know. If bad organizations, no organization does that in any sport. You're just burning draft cap, like the Niners are so proud of the 3rd round comp picks they get for free. These were top 30 picks. One of these was like a top, 15 pick, and you burned it. Nice. Very nice. That's what Borat would do.
And I just think that the 49ers are so good at so many things. They're good at building a roster. They're good at finding guys that fit their system, except at quarterback. They're good at retaining coaches. They're good at so many things. But this is their blind spot to me. The quarterback position, the handling of the position, the treatment of whoever the starter is, the handling of the position with the media. This is the thing that they are not good at. Every regime has strengths. Every regime has weaknesses. Yeah. This is clearly a weakness with the 49ers regime.
It is. I'm going to get into that in a second, but I want to go back to this trade for a second. Let's go back to 2021. It's 2 years ago, not thinking about it, but still. They lost in the NFC Championship game to the Rams, who they'd beaten 6 in a row. Okay, They lost to the Rams by 3. It's 2017. They lost that game. The Rams go to the Super Bowl and beat the Bengals, who the Niners had beaten in Cincinnati like a month before, by 3. 23-20. Like, the Niners could have won that Super. It was so close, even with Jimmy. And you're thinking like, man, maybe if they had used their 1st round pick that year on someone who could play. They were at 12. They could have had Micah Parsons. You're telling me if they didn't have Micah Parsons that year, they wouldn't have beat the Rams in the NFC Championship game? Like, it wouldn't have made them a dynasty. But, like, that's why that trade matters forever in Niners history. Like, they didn't win the Super Bowl the last 2 years. They were this freaking close. And you wonder, like, man, if they had one more impact player, could they have done it? I will never know. We'll never freaking know, but we'll always wonder.
But I feel like when people do that, they always make those picks good players, right? It's always, you picked. What if they picked somebody that sucked with that pick? We don't know that they would pick.
Well, they did, right?
Well, I just.
Well, they did, right? I mean, they couldn't have done worse than what the guy didn't play. If they had got Rashawn Slater, Parsons, any contributor, could they have not lost by 3? Would they have won by 1? You know what I'm saying?
No value.
We'll never know. Yeah.
There's nobody there. Justin says, I know Trey's a professional, but at what point does he flip John's desk and get mad? I've been wondering the same thing for a long time. I almost wonder if maybe he knew that Darnold was going to be the number 2, and that's why Trey told Rich Eisen at the Super Bowl, I just want a chance to compete, because he knew he wasn't going to get one.
I mean, look at how the national media talks about Trey. And again, I keep reminding you, like, never been arrested, never had any controversy. They still talk about him like he's toxic or something. Like, just wait until he demands a trade and see how people talk about him then. It's not fair, but that's what's happening to Trey.
It's true.
Yeah.
Ramelia Sports Report says Kyle knows Jed York is weak. No fear for bumbling. Well, Jed, as long as they keep making the NFC Championship game and the money keeps coming in, Jed's not going to do anything. Jed is
also Kyle's smart, and he saw what happened to Jim Harbaugh. 700 winning percentage, clash with Jed, got booted. So all Kyle needs to do is not clash with Jed. End of story. Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, but I think Jed is loving this. I think Jed feels like he's one of the guys that John likes him, that Kyle likes him, that he's cool, that he's like, yeah, by proxy.
Yes,
Jed's loving it.
Artemis 4994. Nick Mullins with the same exact injury said he felt ready to go by week 6, but Brock has already been named the week 1 starter. Make it make sense. Well,
interesting.
That's fair to bring up, but at the same time, like, 2 different players, everybody's body is different. I don't want to go there specifically.
Also, I think Mullins' procedure was earlier. I don't think it was in March. We'll find out.
Mullins was out.
I still think it doesn't do Brock. I think it does Brock a disservice to start in week 1. Like, why is he on the fastest track possible? Why?
There's no urgency. Like, you don't need to do that. The team started 3-4 and 3-5 the past 2 years, and they made the NFC Championship game. If you lose week 1, you can come back from that. That's all we're saying.
Also, like, rushing Brock Purdy onto the field with no training camp and no preseason doesn't necessarily guarantee you wins that you wouldn't get at the beginning of the season. You might lose one way or another.
It's not a good spot, especially in Pittsburgh against that defense. It's not ideal. Miguel says Kyle's system comes first above talent. It's the Kyle show. Brock is a perfect system quarterback, and Trey is not, as far as what the Niners are saying. Shaking my head.
At quarterback and offensive line, but not at the skill position players. I mean, God. The Niners have... It's funny, Kyle's known like as a guy who elevates talent, but he's got some talent. He's got some talent.
That's okay. Like, let's have both, right? That's the idea.
Absolutely. Yeah, so did Walsh. For sure.
Let's get a guy that can elevate people while also, getting some really good freaking people.
He did a really good job with McCaffrey. I'm going to give him credit with that. He needs to use him a little bit less, But man, when they got McCaffrey, I'm like, okay, another guy that Jimmy Garoppolo can check it down to. Like, this passing game is so horizontal. I don't see how this improves things. Well, salute, Kyle. You figured. You showed me on that one. Nice.
Rushed it. Like, it couldn't have
Oh,
gone.
yeah. And now everyone wants Christian McCaffrey. Like, it's like the way teams are looking for running backs is like Jahmyr Gibbs goes number 12. He wouldn't have gone 12 if the Niners hadn't traded for Christian McCaffrey. That was a Christian McCaffrey pick right there. I love that.
Here's how you know it went well. Because everybody's talking about Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, and they're like, the NFL doesn't care about running backs. Then you bring up Christian McCaffrey, and everybody's like, oh, that was a home run. That was totally.
We gotta get a guy like that because it's what he can do in the passing game. I always look at McCaffrey as a good runner and a great receiver. I mean, maybe Good's underselling him as a running back, but he's not that big and powerful. He's very good though, as he can do everything. But do you really want to give him 20 carries? Do you really want to rush him at the goal line? Like, not ideally, but I want to give him 20 touches a game for sure. For sure.
Look at it this way. If McCaffrey was not a good receiver, would you say, I want that guy to be my workhorse running back? I would say no.
No.
And that doesn't, I'm not trying to knock him. I'm just saying the receiving.
He has to be a receiver. He has to be a receiver. Yeah.
It's absolutely a huge, huge part of it. All right. I want to play a couple of clips from Matt Mayoko on his podcast, 49ers Talk. But before I do, I just want to let everybody know I got a brand new website. It's called goldstandardniners.com. Please go and check it out. I've been writing articles up there. I got a whole article about this Albert Breer thing. You can see everything, goldstandardniners.com.